Ohio State's defense is built to be elite in 2025, with seasoned players and game-changing transfers ready to take over.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. During today's show, we will discuss two more players that lost their black stripes, as well as Larry Johnson's plan for the defensive line. But first, a year ago, Ohio State had one of the best defenses in the country, but they also had a lot of seasoned players from Tuimoloau and Sawyer and Ransom and others that were great leaders for Ohio State, and they played with a relentless abandon every time they were on the field. Well, last year's defense saw 8 guys from that unit go off to play in the National Football League, which leaves a massive hole for this unit this year. 3 returning starters. Alvaro Reese is going to start this year, and Kenyatta Jackson Jr. is a guy who is becoming a big leader for Ohio State. There's a lot of talent on this team. When you think about what Ohio State lost a year ago and what's still in the locker room, you might be wondering if the Buckeyes defense can be elite. The answer to that question is yes. And also, the Buckeyes defense is built to be elite. When you look at the guys that are up front and the versatility and the ferociousness they're going to play with, along with the linebackers, which may be one of the better linebacker duos in the entire country, it's a little bit too early to make that bold statement, but it's possible that they can take that crown. And then the secondary. Look no further than number 2, because Caleb Downs is the number 1 player on defense in the entire country. And Downs is going to lead that entire unit, along with Sonny Styles, along with Arvell Reese, along with Igbinosun. This defense has these seasoned players and some transfers coming in that are built and determined to be game changers every single week. And it all starts with Texas. Everything starts week 1. And this year, you got to battle with the Longhorns, a team that you just beat last year. You ended their season a year ago, and they want revenge. They are eager to get back on the field. They're hungry to do battle with Ohio State. But here's the one thing that I think Ohio State has as an advantage for them, but also it could turn into being a disadvantage depending on how these players respond when adversity hits them Labor Day weekend. Ohio State's going to roll into the shoe that weekend and have a lot of inexperienced players. However, while they're inexperienced, they are built in a way and they have a grit and determination that they are going to go in there and play with their hair on fire every single snap, but also taking one play at a time. Don't look back to a successful play, and don't look ahead to what's to come over the next couple of plays in a drive. Simply focus on the next play. And when you keep your mind right, and when you focus on what Ryan Day and Larry Johnson and Matt Patricia are preaching every single day, you're going to put yourself in the right position to be successful. But now you got to go make a play. And if you think about Ohio State's defense right now, when you look up front, there are some new guys there. Ohio State lost their entire starting defensive line, but they're being replaced by Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Caden McDonald and Edric Houston. Those 4 guys together are going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's versatility involved there. There's K-Jack, who I believe is going to lead the team in sacks and will probably be top 2 or top 3 in the conference in sacks as well. Caden McDonald and Edric Houston, they're 2 versatile guys in the middle. Caden Curry, he's versatile as well. Not as large as Edric Houston or Caden McDonald, but his versatility comes with a motor that never stops. At linebacker, Arvell Reese can play the Mike, he can play the Will, he can play the edge. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. Sonny Styles went from being a safety when he got to Ohio State to now being a weak side linebacker. He was second on the team in tackles a year ago, and he is now a guy that's assuming a very massive leadership role, and he's not backing away from it. And Caden Curry recently made a comment during his media availability session just a day ago discussing last year's defense and what the team can do this year to stay elite once again. Quote, "Our defense was great last year. I think we need to just keep playing with our hair on fire and just keep playing it one play at a time and just doing our best, end quote. And playing with its hair on fire is similar to playing with a reckless abandon. And that's a phrase that has been in my head ever since seventh or eighth grade football at Belzer Middle School. One of our coaches talked to the defense and said every single play, you utilize a force that is a reckless abandon on the field. He's not saying to go all out and act like you don't have any sense, but no, you go hard. You follow the keys, you follow what the coach is telling you to do on that play, but you go hard every single play. And I think with Texas looking at Ohio State, yes, playing with your hair on fire will help Ohio State's defense be elite, but you got to be built that way. And I think at every single level, there are guys that can help build up that unit to be elite. I think the Buckeyes are going to have elite linebackers, maybe the best Buckeye linebacker duo Ryan Day has had during his tenure as Ohio State head coach. And that's knowing that last year you had Cody Simon and Sonny Styles. I think another year of Sonny Styles playing the will and only playing the will, and then Arvo Reese playing a position that he's meant to play. I think those two guys can do things this year and do them in a better way than Styles and Simon did last year. But this defense, while you have Downs and Iggy and Sonny Styles being returning starters, the four guys up front on the defensive line, along with Arvo Reese and Jermaine Matthews Jr., they played a little bit of football. You kind of know what kind of players they're going to be. The only wild cards that I view with this side of the ball that is losing a lot of players off a national championship winning defense, the only guys are Malik Hartford or Jalen McLean or Lorenzo Styles Jr. That's it, because they weren't in the rotation a year ago. McLean and Hartford, I think, are, I won't say neck and neck. I think Hartford's going to win the battle, but they have been working and grinding every single day to be the guy working alongside Caleb Downs. Lorenzo Styles Jr. is kind of under the radar. People aren't really talking about him. If you see Styles in an article, you know it's talking about Sonny Styles, but you don't think, oh, his brother's on the team. Lorenzo started at Notre Dame, transferred to Ohio State. He is an Ohio State legacy in himself, so that's something to kind of look at as well. But Lorenzo playing that nickel corner spot, you're coming in and replacing the shoes of Jordan Hancock, who at times was playing deep safety a year ago. And there are people saying that maybe he's a better outside corner than inside corner. Before Ohio State's defense, that inside corner was the best spot for him because he wasn't going to play outside with the personnel Ohio State had. For Lorenzo, who I do believe is going to be the nickel corner, just do your job, man. Do your job. People may doubt you because you're new and they don't recognize your number and the way you play. Trust me, do the job. The way that this team is made up and constructed, this unit, while it is inexperienced, can use that to their advantage because the opposition doesn't really have a lot of game film on these players that are stepping up into bigger roles this year to say, oh, this is their strength, this is their weakness, this is what they might do that might trip you up. You don't have a lot of game film on that, which is advantage Ohio State. This defense is built to bust heads. This defense is built on versatility. This defense is built for Matt Patricia to utilize his own creativity to allow the Buckeyes defense to be elite once again. The Buckeyes defense is elite, and to remain elite, you got to play with a reckless abandon every single down you're on the field. Speaking of playing with the reckless abandon every time you're on the field, that's the way Larry Johnson's crew must play, but also they must fit into the plan LJ has for the D-line this year. This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed a new couch from Wayfair. It has been the perfect addition to my home. It instantly made my space feel refreshed and ready for fall. This is the perfect time to get my home ready, whether that's organizing, upgrading my workspace, or making weeknight dinners easier. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. I really appreciate all of you tapping in and subscribing to Locked on Buckeyes. We are very, very close to crushing a goal that we set about a month ago that we wanted to hit before the Buckeyes kicked off against Texas. And we're literally a few subscriptions away to hit it from hitting the 5,000 subscriber mark on the YouTube. If you have not already, go to the YouTube, subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes, just search Locked on Buckeyes in the search bar. Hit that notification button so you get notified every time a new video goes live. And if you're an audio listener to the podcast, that's my preferred way to listen to shows. Hit that follow button on that app that you love to catch every podcast on. Ryan Day has done a great job with the coaching staff, and finding a way to keep Larry Johnson around is key. He is one of the better D-line coaches in the country, and he's well respected. And even on the recruiting trail, if you say Larry Johnson, oh, okay, you mean business, and the people you're talking to know what Larry Johnson stands for. Well, for this unit that Larry Johnson is leading this year, it's going to look a little bit different. You don't have Troy Malowau or Sawyer or Hamilton or Williams. They're off in the NFL, which means there's going to be 4 new guys stepping up into starting roles, and they have to fit into Larry Johnson's plan for the unit. Well, they have been around for a while. They also have to know things might be a little bit more creative or a little bit different than they were a year ago with Matt Patricia leading the defense. And I think when I think about Larry Johnson's plan, before I get to it, I think he's on the right track in these big-time games. What he's talking about is not only a conference game, but a big-time game. There's something that needs to happen, and his mindset is the right one. Here's Larry Johnson. Here's what he had to say in regards to the D-line depth at Ohio State. Quote, "If I can get 6 guys to play as one, we have a good deal. That's the whole approach. We don't know who's going to be the ones, who's going to be the twos, who's going to be the threes. It's all about driving them to understand what it takes to play that first game," end quote. And now, normally I wouldn't say it's all focused on the first game, but the first game is Texas, the number 1 team in the country in both the AP and coaches polls. And so if you're the number 1 team in the country, you're already walking into the shoe with the big old red X on your back. Everybody's coming for Texas. Everybody is looking at Texas and trying to knock down the man at the top. While you're trying to knock them down, you want to make sure your plan is geared towards that school. Arch Manning is over there. They have a lot of good players over there. Sark is trying to get revenge, and maybe Sark needs to tap into some of the offensive creativity he had when he was the OC at Alabama in the 2020 National Championship game, because not only did Mac Jones and Najee Harris and Devonta Smith torch Ohio State, but Sark was in his bag, man. Sark was in his bag. And let's say Sark tries to go deep into his bag of tricks, and Larry Johnson's plan works. That you need 6 guys for that first game because you're gearing up for that. You're right on track, because think about what happened in the playoff a year ago. Ohio State really wasn't rotating that much. Yeah, Kate McDonald played a little bit. Edric Houston played a little bit. Yeah, you had Caden Curry and K-Jack on the field just a little bit, not as much as normal, because you had to ride your big dogs up front. And I think for this year's team at Ohio State, I can see 7. I know that he said 6, and I'm going to lean into his 6 plus 1 to make 7. Just trying to do all the things here that fit the notes in my notebook. At D tackle, if you're thinking 6, you can say 3 and 3, or you can say 2 and 4. You can kind of mix and match, because there are guys in this group that are on my paper that could play inside or outside depending on the play that Matt Patricia calls. At D tackle, let's just go 3 and 3 plus 1. At D tackle, just to make the 3 for that unit, Caden McDonald, Edric Houston, and Will Smith Jr. are the 3. The question marks are next to Tyrone Malone Jr. and Jason Moore. Jarquez Carter's gotten a little bit of love recently as someone that's done some good things during training camp. I think by the way that I am picking up what Larry Johnson and the other players are saying, he is still figuring it out. He just got on campus, so I'm not saying it's expected for him to play right away, but he is still figuring it out, and he's progressing maybe a little bit quicker than expected. But I am not a person that thinks Jarquez Carter is going to be out there playing against Texas week one. I don't. If it happens, cool. I'm wrong, but I don't. But the three on the defensive tackle side, once again, Caden McDonald, Edric Houston, Will Smith Jr., I think those three guys are going to play. The three guys on the edge that are definitely going to play, Keanu Jackson Jr., Caden Curry, and CJ Hicks. The plus one is Bo Atkinson. And earlier I mentioned that there could be some creativity where there could be some guys on the edge that play inside. There could be some guys on the inside that play on the edge and really confuse what Texas might be trying to do. Because if you think back to Edric Houston's recruitment, he was recruited and brought into Ohio State to be an edge rusher. Next thing you know, you see him during training camp, you're like, did he just put on like 20 pounds of just straight muscle? Just doing all the push-ups he can do to gain all the muscle? Because he bulked up in a big way. And if you look at Edric Houston now compared to a year ago, he's putting on that healthy weight. And so I think Edric Houston, his quickness is still there. I think his power and his speed, while his speed may be a little bit slower than it was before, I think he still has enough speed to be able to play three tech or occasionally be bumped outside if he needs to be. When it comes to the edge, K-Jack can be bumped inside. Caden Curry can be bumped inside. Bo Atkinson, who's the plus one in this conversation, he can definitely be bumped inside at 6'6", 265. And so you got three guys. I don't see any reason at all to put CJ Hicks on the inside at all, the three tech. I don't. What's he, 240, 245? If 245, absolutely not. But there's versatility that Matt Patricia wants. You get it with the guys that are on this unit. You get that. You also get guys that know and understand Larry Johnson. If you take Bo Atkinson out of the conversation and focus on K-Jack, Curry, Hicks, McDonald, Houston, and Will Smith Jr., everyone has been at Ohio State for multiple years and understand what Larry Johnson needs from this unit. If you want to add in Bo Atkinson, great. I'm here for it. But you might want to go into this game with the guys that know you the best, know the program the best, and even a Kenyatta Jackson Jr., who's making himself out to be a guy who should be a captain this year. We haven't predicted captains. That may be coming on a Sunday show. Not sure yet. We got one recorded for Saturday. Just got to put the finishing touches on it before uploading that one. So there will be a pod coming on Saturday. It's a crossover with myself and Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. You'll definitely want to check that out. But I think the plan of having 6 is spot on, man. It is spot on. Now, I did say you want to rotate probably 8 to 10. That's in your, really more so 8, but that's in like your, game against Rutgers, game against Illinois, game against Washington. No, Illinois is going to be good, but Illinois is not going to beat Texas. Illinois is not going to be Michigan. I'm high. I'm thinking Michigan can be decent. That's a weird school. This may be a big day for them. They may not like the punishment coming down. They may like it. I have no idea. I have no thought about what the punishment might be that is expected to be made public today via the NCAA and a report via Pete Thamel of ESPN. So that's one thing to be watching today. Be on your phone, trying to put the push notifications on all the correct people so you get it first and say, bam, Michigan got what? For stealing signs? I hope you learned your lesson. Larry Johnson knows what he's doing. Larry Johnson has been around for a very long time. He's seen a lot of football in different eras. And as the game has changed, one thing remains the same. Your technique and what you have to do to be successful on the defensive line, it hasn't changed. Now, maybe the cupboard is not as bare as some thought it was going to be when Ohio State lost their entire starting D-line from a national championship winning defense. Okay, that's a thought. But here's another thought. Larry Johnson knows what he is doing. And Larry Johnson's experience and track record of success gives him the ability to generally get the benefit of the doubt in these situations while preparing his unit for battle against Texas in the shoe. I can't wait. I was literally watching Texas versus Ohio State in '05, the first time the two schools met ever in the history of college football. And Britt Musburger and Todd Blackledge and Jack Arute, I believe, was on the sidelines. I hadn't seen Jack Arute on the sidelines in a long time, but the shoe was rocking that day. I mean, absolutely rocking. And if you're going to the game, y'all better go off. Y'all better go off. Y'all better act buck wild, do whatever you got to do to make it hard for Texas in that game. There are a couple more players at Ohio State that recently lost their black stripes, and their players at Ohio State might need to utilize to beat Texas in week 1. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you all for tapping and Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ryan Day has done a great job of continuing some of the traditions that Urban Meyer started when he became the Buckeyes head coach. And one of them was the black stripe tradition, where you come to Ohio State after signing a national letter of intent out of high school or transferring in the portal, and you get on campus. You start working out. You put the pads on, and you do what is needed on the field, actually on and off the field, to prove you have what it takes to be a Buckeye. And there have been a few Buckeye players that have lost their black stripes this week. It's been 2 by 2 by 2 throughout camp. If one guy loses it, another guy does as well. And one guy lost his black stripe today. Is Bo Jackson. The other one is punter Nick McLarty, and we're going to talk more about that in a couple seconds. But Lock Boys, as they call them, definitely got a dude this year to lose his black stripe. CJ Donaldson also lost his black stripe recently, so your top 3 backs in the RB room all have their black stripes removed. Maybe James Peoples is the starter. Maybe it's Donaldson. Bo Jackson is expected to play. And I think Bo is going to provide a certain level of electricity off the bench that is going to be needed. It's going to be a fun dynamic to see Peoples and Donaldson and occasionally Bo Jackson in there. I don't expect Jackson to be in there in obvious passing situations. And the everydayers know my mindset when it comes to true freshman running backs being on the field on a frequent basis. You're probably going to use him more to run. You're probably not going to use him in pass pro, because the hardest thing for a running back to do in college football is to pass block. It is hard. And if you want to throw the run blocking in there too, that's very, very hard. But I think the hardest one is pass pro. Run blocking is second, which is why a year ago when you had Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins blocking the way that they did over and over and over again, it was refreshing and a lot of fun to watch, because, man, I missed them hits. I missed those big physical booms we saw all the time. And I say that because I recently was on the Instagram, and there was a video that popped up of the old, let's say old, it's not really that old, but about 20 years ago when they didn't outlaw some of those big hits and before targeting and some of the things that came in to kind of regulate some of the heavy hits coming in the NFL. I saw Ray Lewis take somebody's head off. I remember Sean Taylor blew up the punter in the Pro Bowl. Ryan Clark over the middle came in like a missile and bam, took somebody out. I love those hits. I even didn't see a clip of it though, heard about Trevion Henderson blowing up Von Miller in practice and pass protection. And of course, there was a little scuffle after that. But Henderson's trying to prove himself. If you think Bo Atkinson coming into Ohio State trying to prove himself is big, think about going from winning a national championship to playing in the National Football League. Those guys are going to try to test you over and over and over again to see if you got the goods. Henderson does. Bo Jackson does. And I'm looking forward to seeing Bo Jackson play. I do think if they decide to use 3 running backs against Texas, which I have a hard time believing they're going to, but if they do, I would love to see a little bit of a split back set. People's on one side, Donaldson on the other. Little offset I, even if you put Donaldson in the fullback position and an offset I, that's a wrinkle that a lot of defenses are not going to be able to handle. And then if you bring in Bo Jackson in a single back set, y'all look, there are so many things you could do with this unit. It's going to be so scary if Brian Hartline taps into every little ounce of potential that these guys have this year. So Bo Jackson was not the only player to lose his black stripe. The other was punter, the Aussie, Nick McLarty. And I hope I said his name correctly. He has been on the team for a while. He is not a newcomer. He came in and had some battles and some struggles and ended up being someone that struggled. Didn't lose his black stripe as quickly as expected. But with McLarty, he is in a punting battle, I believe. And I don't think he's going to win it. But if you're battling with somebody, it's possible that you will. So I'm not the punting guru. Don't ask me. Don't ask me at all to go up there and try to critique a punter. Did he catch it properly? Were the laces in the right spot? Did his leg go up with the right amount of force? Y'all, I don't know. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat anything. I don't know. I know ball. I can tell you about some offensive linemen and D linemen and a linebacker, and a receiver, and a quarterback. I can talk about that kind of stuff all day, every day. The X's and O's or the nitty-gritty nerd notes of punting or kicking off a ball, I'm not your guy. But I am your guy here. The one way McLarty can win the job is the same way Julian Sand or Licky Canholz can win the job at their position. Consistency. Now, McLarty is 6'7", 255 pounds. And so you may want to say, Jay, he has a boomstick attached to him. Yes, but accuracy and consistency is key. Maybe you're full of power, but you're not accurate. Maybe you're accurate, but you don't have all the power. You got to mix the two and do it consistently better than the guy you're competing with. Wow. The guy just said that he doesn't know much about punting and kicking and breaking stuff down, but he literally just laid it out very easily on how McLarty can win the punting job. Mind blown. I mean, kind of be a little sarcastic, but you get the gist. It's so simple to describe. It's a lot harder to do. Consistency is key. It's the same way people is going to win the running back job, or who else is in a battle right now? Phillip Daniels is going to win the job at right tackle. Consistency. Now, you're not going to try to do the power and accuracy conversation with a right tackle as far as power with your leg, but power with your legs at right tackle and with the force you're working with and doing it over and over and over and being consistent with it. Yeah, that same concept can be utilized with any position. Now, the words you use might be a little bit different, but it is the same message you're trying to get across. These two guys lost their black stripes. I'm very happy for them. Love seeing more and more Buckeyes lose their black stripes. It's McLarty or Joe McGuire that are competing to be the Buckeye starting punter. My money is on McGuire right now. Even after some of the things that people were just going with from a year ago, my money's on him. I don't think McLarty has done enough yet to win the job. You also hope you don't have to use him that much, no matter who the punter is. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the portal, because my guy Brian Smith has latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the portal and Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked on Buckeyes on a Feel Good Friday. We'll see you next time.